move towards the first part of the SQL, that is data definition language. So data definition language, as its name, it is allowed to define the relation, delete the relation, and modify the relation. So you can write down the definition of DDL. Data definition language allow to define the relation, then delete the relation, and modify the relation. So I'm expecting that you are writing the important things. Okay, so what it include? What the DDL include? The DDL include schema of each relation. Okay, so DDL includes schema of each relation. For example, student. The schema of the student relation include SID. Okay, name of the student, then department name of the student, then it includes, suppose, total credits earned by the student. Okay, so that we call a schema of the relation. So that is defined in the DDL. Then the domain values of associated with each of the attribute. For example, what is SID? It may be a character of size 10. That is SID. Then what is the schema for department name? I write it here as character of size 15. Then what are the, it remains the name. What is the domain of that particular name? It is the character of size, suppose 15. And what are the total credits? Suppose I say it is an integer, or it is a float if it is in points, floating point value. So in this way, domain of the values associated with each attribute, it is also decided in the data definition language. Now integrity constraint. What the first integrity constraint we can define here? The primary key of that student ID, SID, is the primary key of student relation. Another, you can say name not null. Name should not be null. Means every time we insert the value for name, it must be there. Null value is not allowed for the name. Next, set of indices. That part we will see afterwards. So suppose we want to define some index on the student, on the department name, or on the student ID. Then set of indices for each relation. Security and authorization information for each relation, means who is going to use the student relation, to whom the access rights are grants, or the grants are given to that particular relation. And the physical storage structure of each relation, means how we are going to store the student relation on the disk, where it is stored. It is possible in main memory? No, because the size of main memory is very small. So normally it is stored on the secondary storage. Hard disk is used to store the database information. So which kind of physical storage structure is used? There are so many types of file organization. Sequential file organization, then hash file organization. So in this way, there are different types of file. Heap file organization, clustering file organization. So there are different types of file organization. Which kind of physical structure or file types is used to store the information? That part we are going to study in the 4th unit. Along with how to store the information or how to store that record. So to store the record, there are again two types: variable length records and fixed length records. That part also we are going to study in the 4th unit. So all these things are considered in data definition language. What is the first? Schema for each relation. What is the schema for student? The domain value associated with each attribute. Okay, so what is the domain of SID? So what is mean by domain? What is mean by domain of an attribute? The set of permitted values. So for credits, only integer values are allowed. For department name, only character of size 15 is allowed. So that is the domain value of the attribute. Then integrity constraint means the data that we are going to store must satisfy that constraint. Means primary key, SID. So we cannot insert null value for SID. We cannot insert duplicate values for SID. Then name not null means if of name we cannot insert a null value. You must insert a value for the name. Then the set of indices, security and authorization information for each relation, who is going to use that relation, and the physical storage structure. How to we are going to store that particular relation on the disk. That part. So all these are included in the SQL. Everyone clear? The basic definition of data definition language or the basic concept of data definition language, yes or no? So we can move to the next part. Have you understood? Okay. Now we move towards the next part of SQL or the first command of data definition language. Before that, the domain types in SQL means character, integer. What are the different domain types used in SQL? So the first domain type that is used in SQL is character. Normal character, fixed length character string with user specified length. Okay, user specified length of size n means suppose I write here character 10. So as you are using it in programming language, same, nothing different. So character 10 means I can insert 10 characters for the particular attribute. Suppose name as character 10. Okay, name of the student as character 10. So I can insert maximum 10 characters for the name, minimum 1, maximum 10 characters for the name. That is the simple. So n is the user defined length. You can write here 10, 20, 15, 12, 20, whatever the requirement, depending upon that. Then the next varchar. Varchar. Okay. Suppose I define here name. Again, variable length character string with user specified maximum length n. User specified length n. Okay. So name varchar n. Now what is the difference between char and varchar? It is a fixed length and it is a variable length. Means what? Suppose I insert the student name as John. So here, as it is a fixed length, total 10 bytes, 1 byte for one character if we consider, total 10 bytes are used for this one. Okay, and as it is a variable length, only 4 bytes are used and remaining bytes are used for the next. That is the difference between fixed length character string and variable length character string. Have you understood? If I write name char 10, then total 10 bytes. If we consider 1 byte for one character, total 10 bytes are reserved for the name. And if I write here name varchar 10, then whatever the value or characters we insert, that bytes are only reserved. Maximum 10 we can insert. Everyone clear? Means here 10 bytes are used in the varchar, only 4 bytes are used, remaining are used for the next purpose or next attribute. That is about the char and varchar. Next integer. Integer as we use in our programming language, normally it is a 8 byte. A finite subset of integer that is machine dependent. It depends upon your operating system. Small integer. So it is the another part of integer. Again, it is machine dependent subset of integer domain type. Again, it is machine dependent. Numeric p comma d. Again, that is normally or many times we use in SQL numeric p comma d. So what is this? It is used for fixed point number or we can say it a floating point number with user specified precision of p digits with total p digits with d of the p digits to the right of the decimal point. D of the p digits are to the right of the decimal point. For example, suppose I use 5, 2. What it indicates that? What is the value of p here? It is equal to 5. And what is the value of d here? It is equal to 2. So it indicates that 2 points, okay, 2 digits are to the right of the decimal point. So correct here that, suppose I write here 1, 2, 3 dot 56. So total 5 digits are allowed, maximum 5 digits are allowed. Among that, 2 are on the right hand side. Suppose I write here 1, 2, 3, 5.6. It is correct? No. Okay, it is not correct. Why? Because on the right hand side, if there are 2 digits, then maximum 3 digits are allowed on the left hand side. Everyone clear? Suppose I write here 12.356. It is also not allowed. Why? Because on the right hand side, only maximum 2 digits are allowed. 3 digits are not allowed. Everyone clear with the numeric? Okay. So if 5, 2, 5 among the 5 digits, 2 digits are on the right hand side of the decimal. Suppose I write 8, 2. So 6 are allowed. Maximum 6. You can write 0 to 6. So maximum 6 are on the left hand side while 2 are on the right hand side of the decimal point. That is the simple numeric P, D, and that is the domain type maximum times used in this SQL. Next, real and double precision. Again, it is machine dependent depending upon the operating system. Float number, floating point number, which is user specified precision of size n. Okay, and it's again machine dependent. So that is about the domain type that is used in the SQL. Along with there are some other advanced SQL types, that is date, time. These are also in the domain types in the SQL. Means you can suppose date of birth, you can directly use the date. Date is available in SQL. So that what we can say specification DD, MM, YY, whatever. It depends upon the which kind of SQL you are using. In MySQL, the format may be different. In Oracle, the format of the date may be different. Then in PostgreSQL, the format of the date may be different. But date is there. For example, I write here date of birth is my attribute name. So for that I can use the date. But the format of date, whether it is MM, DD, YYY, DD, MM, YYY, it depends upon the SQL or the database, whatever you are using. Okay. For SQL, MySQL, for PostgreSQL, for the Oracle, everywhere it is different. Format is different. So these are some domain types that we use in SQL. Now the next, create table. First command in detail we are going to see here. So an SQL relation is defined using create table command. So I'm going to write here the structure and that you have to note down in your notebook also. So create table, for that we use the create table command. Okay, we use the create table command. Create table R, okay, with A1 space D1 comma. Now see, SQL is a language where we use maximum keywords, and the commas and all these semicolon, these are very important. If you miss this, query will not execute. Okay, A1 comma line comma sorry, here it's a comma. And semicolon is important to indicate the end of the query. So here it's the create table command, which is used to create of name R. R is the name of the table. With A1 to AN, these are the name of the attributes, and D1 to DN, these are the domain types of the attributes. For example, student with SID as the domain character, whatever. Salary as the domain of type integer. Now, integrity constraint in this code, these are the integrity constraint. For example, primary key, not null. So these are many kind of constraint you can apply on this particular table R. So write down this create table command or format for create table command. R is the name of the relation. Each attribute AI is the name of the attribute in the schema relation R, and DI is the data type or domain type of the attribute. Now, for example, suppose we are going to create the table for department. So along with me, you can write it in your notebook. Create table department. Now see, I forgot to tell that create table. Okay, what are these? These are the keywords in the SQL. We cannot change these keywords. Okay, so the spelling, if you execute the query create table and you write wrong spelling for create, long spelling for table, the query will not execute. Have you understood? So the create table as it is written in bold, these are the keywords. Or you can give any name the table, but you cannot change these two keywords. These are the keywords of SQL as we use the keywords in our programming language. In the same way, these two are the keywords. So I write here create. Along with me, you can write create table department. What are the attributes of department? Now you need to remember university database. So the attributes of department are department name, the building and budget. These are the only three attributes in the department. So the first attribute department name. Suppose for example, I give it character 15. Okay, space should be there. Character 15, then comma should be there. Department name, I have written here underscore. Then building. For building also I give here character 15. And budget, it's a integer or numeric. Normally it's a floating point, so we use numeric. Budget are always bigger value, so I give you 10,2. So that is about A1, D1, A2, D2, A and DN. Okay, three attributes and the three domain types of the attribute. Next, integrity constraint. Suppose I want to apply some integrity constraint on this. That we can write here. Simple integrity constraint I use here, primary key. Okay, now see, primary key, it is again the keyword. Primary key. No, the question asked that is SQL case sensitive. No, you can write the entire in value in either what we say alphabetic uppercase or lowercase letter. It is not a case sensitive language. But another case sensitive thing is that means primary key, you can write it in capital or in small. It is a keyword. But the department, if you are write all the values small while you are creating the table, and when you are accessing the table or when you retrieve the value from the table, you have to use the same. Have you understood? So my suggestion is that use all lowercase letters. Use all lowercase letters. Means for example, here I use department name D as a small. Okay. Department name, sorry, D as a small. And while I write it as a primary key and I write, it will not execute. Have you understood? How it will not execute? Because here, while I define the department name, it is a small letter D, and that's why it should. So in that case, it is case sensitive. Have you understood? You can write the entire query in capital letters or uppercase letters. That is no issue. But the variables that you are using, that is attribute names or the name of the table, that should be, you need to remember. And that the same you have to use here. So I cannot use here D capital or I cannot use here N capital. It is wrong. As I used here department name as all lowercase letters, I use here all lowercase letters while I use as a primary. And then semicolon. That is the complete our table. And when I execute the query in any language, or any database, that is I use PostgreSQL or Oracle, it will create the table department with 3 attributes. The domain types are like this and the primary key as the department. What is primary key? It is a constraint, correct? In this table, department name is the primary key. Once we declare it as the primary key, what happens? It becomes automatically not null and also it should be unique. Okay, so that is one of the constraints that we can apply on the table. Now we are going to see another constraint that we can apply on the table. The integrity constraint, what is the purpose behind the integrity constraint? Why we should use integrity constraint? So integrity constraint guard the database against accidental damage by ensuring that authorized changes to the database do not result in loss of data consistency. To keep the data in consistent state, we use the integrity constraint. For example, checking account must have a balance greater than 10,000. Salary of the bank employee must be at least $4 per hour. Okay. Customer must have a non-null phone number. So such kind of constraint we can apply. So there are different constraints that we are going to see in. So the first constraint, that is not null. Second one, primary key, unique, check, P, V is the predicate, and foreign key. Now see, first we start with the first constraint, not null. So not null means the particular attribute, if we want that the value that we are going to store for that attribute should not be null. So in that case, we use the not null constraint. So for example, suppose we want to declare name of the particular student or the name of the instructor should not be null. Then how to define it in while we create the table? Name varchar 20 and here write down not null. So indicating that the name of that student should not be null. Name of the instructor should not be null. We need to insert the value for that particular student or the instructor. Similarly, budget. So budget numeric 12,2 not null means here we need to insert some value for budget. Not null value is not allowed. Everyone clear with the not null? It's very simple. Next, primary key, that part already we have seen. So declare attributes or set of attributes as a primary key. Need not necessary that a single attribute as a primary key. Multiple attributes may work as a primary key. For example, if we consider ID of the student or the instructor primary key ID, but in the case of the section entity set or the section relation, we can say there are 4 attributes as a primary key. So how to define if there are multiple attributes as a primary key? Primary key in bracket the comma used to indicate. So these 4 attributes, section ID, course ID, semester and year, these 4 set of attributes become the primary key of section relation or section table. Now the next. So unique in bracket A1 A2 AM. What is this unique? The unique specification says that the attributes A1, A2 to AM form a candidate key. If we define a particular set of attributes as a candidate key, then unique is used. And it is very rarely used. Okay? It is very rarely used. But here the difference between the primary key and candidate key is that candidate keys are permitted to be null. Null values are allowed for the candidate key. While In primary key, once we declare it as a primary key, null value is not allowed. That is the difference between primary key and unique. Everyone clear? So unique, it is used to specify that the set of attributes A1, A2 to AM form a candidate key for that particular relation or for the table. Next, check. So where in check P is used. So what is this P? Where P is predicate that must be satisfied by every tuple in a relation. That must be satisfied by every tuple in a relation. So simple example that check. Now check, it is a keyword. Remember that check, it is a keyword. Check. I write it also. Check salary of employee greater than 0. So that is the simple constraint. So whenever the salary value we enter for the particular employee or the particular instructor, it should be greater than 0. So P is the predicate and check is the key word which is used to check the predicate is satisfied or not. So every tuple in the relation must satisfy this predicate. That is about the simple check. Okay. Now ensure salary of instructor greater than 0. There is another way to write the check or another use of check, that enumerated data type we can use the check. For enumerated data type we can use the check. Now what is mean? Suppose that the semester value, it should be between some values are given, or you can say the sex of the particular person. So check semester. There are suppose 4 semesters. Semester in, okay, in bracket we write down that 4 values. Suppose we say 1 semester, 2 semester 3, semester 4. So whenever the user enter the value for the semester, he must enter any one of these 4 values. Other than this will not allowed. That is the check we can use for the enumerated data type also. So in this way. So ensure the semester value in one of fall, winter, spring and summer. So these book authors are from USA, and that's why the semesters are according to that fall, winter, spring and summer. So check semester in. In is also a keyword. If we not write it, we will not execute. So check semester in fall, winter, spring, summer, comma should be there and write it in single quote. Whenever the value we enter for the semester, it must be between these 4 values. If we write fall only L, single L, it will not allow to insert. Remember that. So whatever the value we have given here, the same we need to insert there. Spring. So springs, if I write here extra S, it will not allow to enter. That whatever the value given here, that must be entered there. So when the values are fixed, such kind of check constraint is used, which is of enumerated data type. Simple create table instructor ID char or varchar name varchar 20 not null. So as I have told that the constraint is that name of the instructor should not be a null value. So name varchar not null. Department name varchar 20. Salary numeric 8, 2. So that salary part normally it's a floating point and that's why numeric is used here. Simple another constraint is that salary should be greater than 0. That's why check salary greater than 0. Then primary key ID. So how many constraints are there in this on this instructor table? There are mainly 3 constraints. First is that not null name, primary key should be ID and check salary. Along with that, another constraint is the domain constraint. That part always we forgot to remember that. Another type of constraint is that domain constraint. Means what? Can we insert for salary character values? Is it possible to insert for salaries character values? No. Why? Because here we declare it as a numeric. Why? Because we declare it as a numeric. Can we insert more than 5 characters for ID? No, we cannot insert more than 5 characters. Why? Because here we give that the maximum length is 5. So that is also a constraint, and that is known as domain constraint. So remember this concept also. That is known as domain constraint. It is a not null constraint. Okay. This one is a not null constraint. This one is the check constraint. This one is the primary constraint. And all these are domain constraints. ID should be a character, maximum length 5. Name should be a character, maximum length 20. We cannot insert more than 20 characters. Similarly, salary, it should be numeric. We cannot insert the character values for the salary. So that is known as domain. Even by domain constraint. So that question may ask for your oral. What is mean by domain constraint? So that is also one of the constraints. Now, the most important constraint, that is referential integrity. That is referential integrity or foreign key constraint. So what is referential integrity? Ensures that a value that appears in one relation for a given set of attributes also appear for certain set of attributes in another relation. Means what? If, for example, in the instructor relation, I want to insert the name of the instructor with their department name biology. Okay. I want to insert a new instructor with department name biology. So that department must present in the department relation first. Correct? In the department relation, first that department name biology must be exist. Means what? The department come first, then we can insert the instructor for the department. Everyone clear? The department first exists means, for example, our computer science and engineering department. So first computer science and department exists, and then instructors we can add for that department. Means that the particular instructors, the department names are totally depends on the department which is available in the department relation. Department name means that department name should be there. Then only we can insert the instructors with that department. Everyone clear? For example, a bank. If the branch is not available, can we insert or create account in that branch? If the branch is not available, can we create the account in that branch? Can we take a loan from such a kind of branch? No. First, that branch should be exist, and then we can create an account or we can create a loan. In the same way, first department should be there, then we can insert the instructor for that department, then we can insert the student for the department, then we can insert the courses for the department, then we can insert the sections for that department. Means first the department should be exist, and then only we can insert the instructors and the students for that particular department. Everyone clear? That is the concept of foreign key. So the foreign key is that we have already seen the definition. There are two relations R and S. If the relation R contains attribute A, where A is the primary key of S, then what we say that the attribute A in relation R is a foreign key referencing to the relation S. So in the instructor relation, department name is a foreign key. In the instructor name, department name is a foreign key, where department name is the primary key of the department relation. So the instructor relation refer this department name of the department relation. Everyone clear? That is known as referential integrity. It is known as referential integrity. This question is also many times asked in the time of oral. What is mean by referential integrity? Means that without the department, we cannot insert the values in the instructor and the student and the courses for that particular department. First, department name should be there. Okay. First, department name should be there. Then only we can insert the value for the instructors. See, once again, I am telling that suppose I want to insert the student. in biology department. So student name is suppose XYZ with ID 101 and the department biology, and the credits are 22. So here the biology what we are going to insert, it must be first present in the department relation. Then only we can insert it in the student. How it is possible? It is possible by declaring it as a foreign key. So department name is a foreign key which refer to the department relation. How to declare it? While we create the table. So in this way. So create table course ID character 5, title varchar 20, department name varchar 20, primary key course ID. Now this department name, what is it? It is the primary key of department relation, correct? So this department name becomes the foreign key for course. How to define it? Foreign key, department name, references, department. Now in this case, foreign key and references, these are the keywords. These are the keywords. And the department name, it should be same as we use in the department relation. DEPT underscore name. If we write it in different way, instead of that, suppose I write here, okay, it will not work. It gives the error. So error of referential integrity constraint. So DEPT. So same we have to use here. We cannot change it. DEPT name. Okay. And if in department relation we write it varchar 20, here also use the varchar 20 as it is. Second time references. So references, this is also a keyword. So many times students write a wrong spelling of references, and that's why query will not execute. So in that case, this is also keywords, write as it is. Department. So this is the name of the particular table or the relation. You have to write it as it is. You cannot change its name. Means instead of department, suppose I write here DPT, it will not execute. So for the department, as you have written there, you need to write it here same. So foreign key department name references department. Means what? Suppose there is a department table. I write here. Okay. In department table, what is there? Department name is there, correct? Then building is there. And budget is there. Okay. Now, suppose there are the values in this department table are like this. So department name, computer science, building name, and budget. Another department I use here, music, building name, and budget. Okay. Another history. Suppose I use building library, budget, something. So these are some values or suppose in the department relation. Now I create here another relation, that is course or instructor. I student. What are the attributes of student relation? SID. Then name of the student, department, name of the student, and then total credits. Okay. And here I insert some tuple. SID 101 name YZ. Now, why we insert the value for department in suppose it is for computer science. So whatever we have used here, the same I need to use here. For example, suppose I use here comp dot science dot. It will not execute. Have you understood why? Because here there dot that is not available. So we cannot use it. So the same as it is we need to use computer science. Then total credit suppose 22. Next 102 and music. Okay. Now see, these are our two tables. So department and student, where department name is foreign key for the student reference to the department relation. Now, suppose in this case, I delete this particular department. Okay. What happens with this one? What do you think? Whether it is correct then? If I delete the department from the department relation, what about the student from that department? That case. So how to solve this problem? Another thing, suppose I change the name of this computer science department. Suppose I change this name of the computer science department with computer science and information technology. Suppose I change, or the college decided to change the name of computer science. What about these two students? What about these two students who are from this department? How we can change the name in this? Because it refers this one. So in that case, it may create the error. It not allowed you to change this department name. Why? Because this department or this student have depend upon here. Refer this one, so it not allowed to change it. Similarly, if I want to delete this particular row or the history department, it will not allowed in common case. Why? Because there are students with this history, there are some instructors maybe with the history, there may be courses with the history, so it will not allowed in common case. Now, how to solve this problem? To solve this problem, have you understood what problem may occur? Suppose I want to delete this particular history, then it will not allowed in common case. Why? Because the students are depend upon it. Instructors are there who refer that history. Courses are there who refer that history. If I want to change the name of the department, I cannot change it. Why? Because the sum of the students, instructor and courses are depend on it. Refer it. So how to solve this problem? To solve this problem, we need cascading of delete and cascading of update. Means along with these references, we need to use another keywords on delete, cascade, on update, cascade. What is the use of this cascading of delete and update? The use of this cascading is that suppose I delete the history from here. If I delete it, it will not happen or not do anything. You can delete it directly from here. But if I delete this particular history from here, then it automatically delete all the students with the history, all the instructors with the history, all the courses with the history. And that is the use of on delete, update and delete cascade. Suppose I change the name of the computer science to computer science and IT in the department, automatically all the student department name change automatically. See, and that is the use of on delete cascade and on update cascade. So My suggestion, and I force the student that whenever you use the foreign key references, along with that use on delete cascade and on update cascade. Have you understood what is its use? So if I delete some values from here, main relation, automatically all the related from the referencing relation. So if I delete the history, it automatically delete all students with the history, all instructors with the history, all courses with the history. If I update the name of any department, automatically it updates all the department names for that particular department from the student, from the instructor, and from the courses. But for that, what we need to use? On delete cascade and on update cascade. So all these are again keywords. Everyone clear with this? Yes or no? So that we can move here to use it in this. So foreign key, remaining things are same. Foreign key, department name, references, department, space, on delete cascade, on update cascade, and then comma. So all these are in single line. Okay, only spaces is there, no comma, no semicolon, nothing is there. So foreign key, department name, references, department, on delete cascade, on update cascade. Now see the simple table, instructor, ID, varchar 5 name as not null, department name, salary, numeric 8,2, salary check greater than 0.0, primary key, now foreign key. In this department name is the foreign key, references department, on delete cascade and on update cascade. So it is my not suggestion, it is forced to everyone to use the on delete cascade and on update cascade if there is a foreign key in your table. Similarly, student table, SID, name, name should not be null, department name, total credits, primary key SID, then foreign key, department name, references, department, on delete cascade, on update cascade. Now, advisor, we move to the next table. Suppose I want to create a table for advisor. What is advisor? It is a relation between the student and the instructor, correct? So, suppose I want to create a table. See, up to this we have seen simple table, that is the student instructor. Now, tables for the relationship set. So, create table advisor. Okay. So, create table advisor. What are the attributes of the advisor? We have created the schema. Now, that same schema, whatever the tables are there in the schema, we need to create the table for all these. So, create table advisor. Yes, ID, correct? Why? It is a relation bit. Whatever the varchar, suppose I use there 5, we need to use 5. Next, ID, varchar 5, comma. Now, these are the only attributes, correct? In the advisor, because it is a relation between student and this one. Now, what is the primary key of this table? What is the primary key of this table? Anyone? If it is a one to many, instructor, many students, what is the primary key? Fast. If it is a one to many, from student to instructor to student, one instructor, many students, then what is the primary key? Yes, it is SID. Why? Many. What is many here? Student is many, and that's why the primary key of the student becomes the primary key of the advisor. Primary key. Then, what next concept? That many times students forgot to use while you create the table for relationship set. SID and IID. What are these? These are the primary keys of student and the instructor. Means these are the foreign keys for the advisor. So here we need to use foreign key. See, many times student write the wrong spelling for foreign. It is a keyword. Foreign key, SID, references, student, okay, on delete cascade on update cascade and comma. Here is the confusion among the students. If primary key, if there are multiple attributes as a primary key, we use it in comma. Primary key SID, comma IID. But foreign key it is not allowed. Why? Because SID refer to the student while IID refer to the instructor. And that's why we need to use different foreign key or different constraint. Foreign key, IID. If it refers to the same table, you can use it with comma. But as these two foreign keys are referred to two different relations, we used to use different foreign keys. Instructor on accepted. Okay. Complete. Everyone clear? While we create the table for relationship set, SID and IID are the two attributes as it is the primary key of student and primary key of instructor. Now the primary key of relationship set is if it is a one to many, then many side. If it is a many to many, both becomes the primary key. If it is a one to one, you can use any one of it. So primary key SID, then foreign key as SID and IID both are from different relation or primary keys of another relation. So we need to use foreign key SID references student, foreign key IID references instructor. So section you can see here, course ID, varchar 8, section ID, varchar 8, semester, year is the numeric, building, varchar, room number, time slot ID, primary key. Now here, these four attributes are work as a primary key. And that's why I written it as a course ID, comma, section ID, comma, semester and year. And check semester in fall, winter, spring, summer. So all these four semesters are only allowed. Foreign key, course ID, references, course on delete cascade, on update cascade. So for all this is the use of creating the schema. So if the schema is ready, the next task is directly you can create the table. So create the table. So see here, now suppose this schema is available with you. Okay, this entire schema. And that's why I have told you that it is in sequence. First you draw the ER diagram, convert it into the relation schema, and then you are doing DDL and DML. So in DDL, you create all the tables. Now, while the schema is ready, this schema is ready, then it is very simple to create the table. But which table you need to start first? Why? Because the department, there is no foreign key. It not depend upon any other table. It not refers any other table. And that's why department we need to create first. Department name, building, budget. Also we can create the classroom. Why? Because there is also no foreign key. After creating the department, then only you can create the student, course, instructor and section. Sorry, course, these three. After creating the course, then only you can create the section. Why? Because course ID is used here. So without creating the course, you cannot create the section. Why? Because course ID, it is referred to the course. So while your schema is ready and you are converting or creating the tables depending on that particular schema, the first thing which table you need to create first, which is not depend on any other table. So in that case, you need to create the department. Then you can create student, course and instructor. Without creating student and instructor, you cannot create advisor because advisor has two foreign keys, one from the student and one from the instructor. So here, after creating the table of student and instructor, then you can create the advisor. Similarly, text. It is the relation between student and section. So first you need to create the section, then student, and then only you can create the text. Similarly, teachers. It is the relation between section and the instructor. So first you need to create section, need to create instructor and then teacher. Suppose we want to modify this relation, whatever we have created. For example, I have created the student relation. with student ID, name, department name, and the total credits. So if I want to modify the relation means suppose I want to add new attribute in the relation. Okay, the schema I want to modify. I want to add new attribute to the relation. Suppose I want to remove some attribute or drop some attribute from the relation. Or suppose I want to drop the entire relation. Then what to do? So that is also the part of data definition language. So now see insert and delete. These are the two commands which are modification commands. These are not DDL commands, but it is written here. So insert, with the insert we can insert the values into the particular relation. That insert instruction we are going to study in detail afterwards in modification to the database. Now see delete. So delete command, it is used to delete from the particular table. So if I use the command delete from student, what it happens? I write it here, some values of the table. Okay, suppose I have student table. Okay, with 4 attributes: SID, name, department name, and total credits. Okay, suppose these are the 4 attributes of this student relation and some values are there: 101, name, department name, total credits, another, now see what the delete from student performs. So when we use or execute this command in SQL, it delete all the tuples from the relation. It delete all the tuples from the relation. So when I use this command delete from student, only the structure of the table remains. Okay, that student with this 4, but there are no tuples in the relation. So this is the delete command. So again we are going to study it in detail modification. Now see the table. Suppose I want to drop the entire table. Suppose I want to delete the entire table. Then which command we can use? So for that the command is this drop table. So what is the format for drop table? Drop table R. Suppose I write here the command drop table student. Drop table student. What happens when I execute this command in SQL? When I execute this command in SQL, it drops the entire relation. Entire relation means its schema is also dropped. Means the attributes and their domain types, everything is dropped. And when I execute delete from student, what happens? It delete only the tuples from the relation. The schema remains as it is. And that is the difference between delete and drop command. So using delete command, we can delete the tuples from the relation, while when we use drop table student or drop table command, it drops the entire table from the database. Everyone clear what is the difference between delete and drop? So the drop table, this command we need to use it carefully because it deletes the entire relation from the particular database. Now see the next command. Suppose in the student table there are 4 attributes: SID, name, department name, and total credits. I want to add a new attribute. I want to add a new attribute, or suppose I want to drop the attribute from the relation. Then what we can do? For that, the command is alter. Okay. So alter table command like this: alter table R, add a comma d. So what is this R? R is the relation in which we want to add the attribute A and the domain type D. And the domain type D. So where A is the name of the attribute to be added to the relation R, and D is the domain of attribute R. So in this example, suppose here I want to add the student. In student table, I want to add the new attribute, that is address of the student. So how I write there? Alter table. What is the name of the table? Student. Okay. Add. Now the new attribute name is address. Suppose I want to address. And what is the domain type? Suppose I want to give it the domain type varchar 20. So using this, when I execute this command, then the new attribute, that is address, is added into the student table. Now what happens with the previous values that are stored in the student table? Correct? For example, suppose the student table is there with SID, name, department name, total credits. Okay, so this is the table already there, 101. Okay, so this is the table, current situation of the table, or we can say instance of the table, that this table has 4 attributes. Along with there are 2 tuples in the table, and after this I realize that I want to add a new attribute, that is address in this. Can we add it? Yes, we can add it by using alter table student add address varchar 20. So this new one is inserted, or the new attribute, sorry, we can add. Now what about the values for this address for these 2 tuples which are already there? Have you understood my question, everyone? See, already 2 tuples are there, and after that I add a new address attribute. Now what about the value of address in these 2 tuples which are already there, or which are previous tuples? Everyone clear with my question? So in that case, here it automatically add null value for this new attribute for the tuples which are already there in the particular relation. Everyone clear with the alter table commands? Again see, alter table command add. It is used to add a new attribute to the relation R with the domain type D. For example, we have a student relation with these 4 attributes: student ID, name, department name, and total credits. And here I want to add a new attribute, that is address. So it is possible that we can add it. But what about the value of the tuples for address which are already there in the relation? So for these 2 tuples which is already in the relation, it automatically add the null value. And when we insert a new tuple, it assign the address whatever we are going to give. Everyone clear with the alter table add? Yes or no? Is it clear to everyone? Okay, so that is the simple alter table command. Now suppose I want to remove or drop particular attribute from this particular table. So simply it use alter table, student, and we want to drop a particular attribute, drop suppose total credits. So when I execute this command, what happens? This particular attribute total credit is deleted or dropped from this relation and remains only 4 attributes: SID, name, department name and address. So this drop alter table with drop, it is used to drop the particular attribute, but most of the database does not support the alter table drop. Okay, add supported by all the databases, but this alter table or dropping of attributes not supported by many databases. In SQL, PostgreSQL also drop, this is not supported. In Oracle also it is not supported. Most of the databases it not support, but this command is available.